Monday, March 1st, 2024. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. On the news this afternoon. Rivers NLC satisfied with progress made during protest. Senate directs police to employ from all local governments in Nigeria. NCC to sanction telcos for non-compliance with SIM-NIM linkage directive. And on the foreign scene, UN urges probe into deadly Gaza aid convoy incident. I am Ifechuku Moyen with the news. The chairman of the Rivers State chapter of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Alex Agwanwo, says organized labour is a pressure group that cannot be silenced. Mr. Agwanwo said this on Nigeria Info FM's Morning Crossfire in reaction to President Bola Tinubu's recent call to the NLC to maintain peace and wait until 2027 if they want to participate in the electoral process.
The Labour should go and prepare for 2027. We are not a political party. And honestly, if you take over the world, if anyone Labour has been in power in the name of affairs, the economy is far better than what we are seeing today in Nigeria. You take reference for South Africa, go to England, where the Labour Party is in charge of affairs, of political affairs. We are not in politics. We are a special group. And whatever he has done can never silence Labour in Nigeria.
Speaking on the suspension of the nationwide protest, Mr. Agwanwo said they are satisfied with the achievements recorded during the first day of the protest.
In order to save any form of rest, in order to let put them for the outcome of the next meeting, so we're not going to go on the street, we're going to get in our various state councils and talk to our members and pick them for the outcome of the next meeting and also address some other issues that have to do with the council. The protest in one day achieve what they're supposed to achieve. For us, we are satisfied with that.
As you may know, the NLC planned a two-day protest nationwide on February 27 and 28 to highlight economic struggles. The protests occurred in many areas on the first day, but the NLC suspended the second day's protest. Yesterday, President Tinubu said the recent protest by the Nigerian Labour Congress was politically motivated. The president said this during his address at the inauguration of the Red Line Rail project in Lagos. He condemned the protest, stating that holding protest within 9 months of his administration is unacceptable. The president added that if NLC intended to engage in political activism, they should wait until the 2027 elections to choose a new president.
The labor union should understand that no matter how much we cling to our freedom and rights, go for strike within 9 months of an administration is unacceptable. If you want to participate in the electoral process, wait until 2027. If not, maintain peace. You are not the only voice of Nigerians.
Meanwhile, the national leader of the Unity House Foundation, Wene Ndawale, has urged residents of Rivers State to utilize their potential for the state's development. During an interview on Nigeria Info FM's Talking Figures, Mr. Ndawale called for collaboration among private sector businesses in Rivers State to support entrepreneurs.
For a state like Rivers State has potentials, how do you put those potentials to good purpose? And I believe that these are the kind of things that Rivers State need right now. People to think through processes. So some people are not excited by the idea of people coming to sit down and start talking. I don't think it's something that we should sit down and say government should do. We put down everything to government. The private sector coming together to be the driving force behind such conversations that are actually beneficial to the business people.
Mr. Ndawale suggested that the government should establish vocational centers to help citizens engage in commerce effectively.
As a way of creating jobs, let the government within the next 10 years create vocational centers, not the political type of skill acquisition centers. Vocational centers where people go and get proper training, even as drivers, even as chefs. You get your city and guild certificate. Government makes the policy that you cannot be employed as a driver in any government establishment unless you have a city and guild certificate. So you have an abundance. That's something you can have, the kind of conversation you can have in a summit like that. If we decide to say within the next 10 years, let's try and deal with specifics in all the areas that affect us with the ultimate purpose primarily of improving commerce.
In another development, amid concerns that grappling with the high cost of living may lead to a mental breakdown, Professor of Health Education Golda Ekenedu is advocating more self-care in times like this. Professor Ekenedu, a lecturer at the University of Port Harcourt, tells our correspondent that cutting costs is necessary to survive the current economic challenges in Nigeria. She said parents will need to register their children in schools they can afford.
WHO defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Many parents are in a state of depression. How do you explain to your children that you cannot pay their school fees? Yet it's a reality. Parents must understand that you must not look at keeping yourself at a certain class when you know you're no longer there. If you force yourself to go beyond your limits, you will go down mentally. Parents should learn to manage resources according to their income, prioritize their needs. You'll be able to foot the education bill for your children.
Moving on, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, says the first draft report of the ongoing review of the 1999 Constitution will be ready in August 2024. Mr. Kalu said this at a press conference organized by the House Committee on Constitution Review. He added that the final clean copy for presidential assent will be out in August 2025. Recall that the committee, at its inauguration on Monday in Abuja, gave a 24-month timeline for the conclusion of the exercise. In the meantime, Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka says previous national conferences organized to address the challenges facing Nigeria were deceitful and were held to pacify aggrieved Nigerians. Professor Soyinka said this during a public lecture in Lagos State. He said decentralization was key for the country to be self-sufficient in food production. He also noted that past national conferences about the decentralization of Nigeria were distractions with the organizers having different agendas in mind. Still to come, Senate directs police to employ from all local governments in Nigeria. Stay with us.
A clean surrounding is a collective effort. Diseases could be avoided with good hygiene practice. Be more responsible with how you dispose waste products. The environment will be better looking without litter and exposed garbage. We love our city clean. This message is from 92.3 Nigeria Info.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
You're welcome back, and now the rest of the news. The Senate has directed the Police Service Commission and the Nigerian Police Force to recruit a minimum of 10 candidates from each of the 774 local government councils in Nigeria. The Senate said the directive should form a part of its annual recruitment process. The resolution was reached as a result of a motion moved by Senator Emmanuel Memga, representing Benue North East, on the need for the Police Service Commission and the Nigeria Police Force to adhere to the federal character principle in the recruitment of constables in the Nigeria Police Force. In other news, female journalists in Rivers State have been encouraged to embrace and utilize new media platforms to enhance their presence and relevance in the society. Speaking shortly after a one-day capacity training organized by the Step Up for Women Journalism Initiative, Switch, the executive director of the organization, Anne Godwin, said the training is aimed at providing insight and strategies for improving and building skills necessary for future career advancement.
It is no longer how it used to be. And for you to make impact and for you to become visible and become vibrant in the current reality we are in, you really need to have a mind shift and a mental shift of what we are doing. So some persons have become so comfortable on the normal things, but there is new norm. There is the new media space that are yet to be explored. We have not been exploring it.
Our correspondent reports that the training titled Maximizing the New Media Platforms, How to Upscale Your Digital Entrepreneurial Skills was supported by the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism and the Rivers State chapter of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. In business, the Nigerian Communications Commission says telecommunication companies that fail to comply with the directive to block SIM cards not linked to National Identification Numbers (NIN) will face sanctions. The Director of Public Affairs, NCC, Ruben Moka, made this known in an interview with newsmen. Recall that the NCC in December asked telecommunication companies to bar an estimated 12 million lines that have not been linked to the owner's NINs after the expiration of the February 28, 2024 deadline. In entertainment, the U.S. city of Boston has named March 2nd as the official Burna Boy Day. In a statement, the councillor Ruzi Lujun recognized the singer's contribution to showcasing African culture and ideals through music. In sports, Liverpool would be prepared to listen to offers for Colombia forward Luis Diaz in the summer if Egypt forward Mohamed Salah agrees a new contract.
And now, we bring you news from around the world.
The head of the UN, Antonio Guterres, has called for an independent investigation into the deaths of more than 100 Palestinians during an aid delivery in Gaza. At least 117 people were killed and more than 760 injured on Thursday as they crowded around aid lorries. That's a wrap on the news this afternoon. Before we go, let's have a look at the major stories. The Rivers State NLC says it is satisfied with the progress made during Tuesday's protest. Senate has directed the police to employ from all local governments in Nigeria. NCC says it will sanction telcos for non-compliance with SIM name linkage directive. And on the foreign scene, UN has called for probe into deadly Gaza aid convoy incident. The news was edited by Martha Okirinkem. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Moyali. Many thanks for listening.